So the file we're going to be working on today is in the Shared Students folder. Easiest way to get there is to click on the desktop and then go to Shared Students, High School, Osmond, and the file is called luke.jpg. Oh, look at that little boy. So what we're going to be working on are some portrait edits. We're going to be trying to sharpen his eyes, work on his super dark under eye circles. He was just got done balding before this picture, and then he's got some crust in the corner of his eyes. So as always, the first thing we're going to do is duplicate the background so we don't mess up the original image. So I'm going to hold down Control, click on the word background there, and say duplicate layer. Okay, so now I've got my background, and the first thing I'm going to do is go in and make a selection of the eyes. I think the best tool to make a selection of the eyes is the lasso tool, and that's over here on the side in the toolbar, and it is 3 tools down and just called the regular old lasso tool. And so I'm going to go make a rough selection around his eyes, go up to the top, hit the add to selection key, so top right corner, and I hover over the icon I want, it says add to selection, and then I'm going to go and add a second eye. Now I've got the eye selected, I'm going to go Command C for copy and Command V for paste. And then if you look on the right side of the screen, that will give me his eyes on its own separate layer. So from here I am going to sharpen, and sharpen is under the filters tab. So with my eyes selected on the layers tab, I go up to the top, I go click filter, sharpen, smart sharpen. And now if yours is not pushed to the side like mine is, you're going to want to do so you can see the eyes on the screen and how it's being affected. And so right now my amount is about 119% and the radius is about 7.2, and as I move that up it can make him look really creepy, which I'm trying to avoid. And all the way down, not enough. So somewhere in the middle, and then right about there looks good to me. And now I'm just looking at the iris. I'm not looking at his eyebrow or his eyelids, anything around there. So I uncheck the preview, recheck the preview, and I think his iris and pupil look good. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK, and it's going to apply the filter. Now I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to add a mask to that layer. So there's the difference. And you can see it really kind of made his skin look over pixelated. So now I add a mask. The mask is in the bottom right corner, and it is a kind of a rectangle with a gray circle in the middle. And if I click on that, it puts a white box onto that layer. Now that I have the white box, I'm going to get my paintbrush, make sure I have pure black and pure white, and I can use the rotation to get black on top. So now I'm going to paint with black and erase everything but his iris. And so a couple problems you could have is, one is your opacity up in the top is too low. Right now my opacity is at 100%, and my brush is fairly hard. Oh, actually my brush is all the way at 100% there for hardness. And if I hit the backslash key under the delete key, I can see where I have painted, so I don't get onto his iris. So I'm going to get right around there. I'm going to decrease the size of my brush with the bracket keys. They are right underneath the plus and minus keys. So just a little bit more here. Okay, I'm going to hit that backslash key, and then I'm going to hit my preview button over here on the side. So, yep, that's doing exactly what I want it to on the left eye now. And so I'm going to go and touch up the right eye. And the right eye is pretty dark in this picture, but I'm just going to work it anyways here. So, all right, make my brush a little bit bigger. And it could help if you turn off both of the bottom layers so you could really just see what it is you're masking out. Nope, there I missed a little piece of the eye there, so I'm going to take that out. That was helpful. So I'm getting all those eyelashes. Right around the eye. Okay, looks like that'll work. And so now, just a little preview so I can see I have sharpened up his eyes. Next thing I wanted to work on was his eye color. And so I'm going to do a curves layer. And there's a couple different ways you can do this, but the curves seems to work well for me. And so I'm going to do a curves adjustment. And the curves, the first tab of the curves is the brightness and contrast, the darkness as well. So I can brighten, oops, and I need to lock it down. So right down here on this tab with the arrow and the slash through it, that's going to lock it down to just the eyes. And so now I move it way up, and now that it's way up, I can see I could use a little bit of an improvement on my masking. So I'll go back to my mask here now that it's bright and really perfect that mask before I go fix up the eyes again. Okay, now my mask is better. I'm going to go back into the curves adjustment. And so I just want to give them a little bit more brightness. I don't want to make it look too fake, so I hit the eyeball, see what I've done. And that's maybe just a little bit too much. Alright, so now I'm going to go into the blue channel, and I'm going to crank up the blue just a little bit. And so that's going to give it this little bit of a fake blue color, and so I'm going to go work on the other channels here. That looks good. Go to green, let's go check out the red. So we've got some red, it's going to make it too purple, and down. So that's looking a little bit fake, but I'm going to dial this back. So the hue's good. So now I'm going to go lower the opacity on this curves adjustment and dial it in just where I want it. So hitting the eyeball, and that's looking good to me. And that's pretty close to his true eye color. So next thing I'm going to do is work on his under eye circle. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new layer. And with this layer, I'm going to, a couple things I could do. One would be clone stamp, or I could try to use the patch healing brush. Clone stamp seems to work better for me. So on this new layer, I'm going to go say sample current and below, and then I'm going to target this area of his cheek and paint it into his under eye circle. So I hold the option key to target, and I start painting. Oops, I grabbed a little, I'm going to undo that, grabbed a little bit of the darkness, make my brush just a little bit smaller. So there we go. Now that looks pretty rough to start with. And so my next step is going to be to blur that. So I go Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And I'm going to increase this blur quite a bit. That looks good. Hit OK. And lower the opacity. And so before and after. Now I need to go and work on erasing some of that out of his eye. But it still looks pretty natural. Where the eye circle is, you can still see some of that indentation, but it's just softened it a little bit. And so I'm just going to go and put a mask on here now and paint out everything but his skin. So I'm going to lower my, I'll keep my opacity up for this. So I'm going to increase the brush size and make sure I get all that skin color out of his eye. Oops, a little bit too much. Paint it back in, flip to white. And now I'm going to slowly fade that in. So I'm going to lower my opacity, soften my brush, and I'm going to slowly fade that in under his eye. Just painting with white and paint with black. Hit the backslash key so I can see how that's fading in. So there's a before and after. Looks better. The last thing I'm going to work on are his eye goobers. And in eye goobers, this would work well for a blemish or any sort of mole. So I'm going to do a new layer, and I'm going to go and get the spot healing brush. Spot healing brush is right underneath the eyedropper, and you can also use the J key, and it's called the spot healing brush tool. And so with the spot healing brush tool, I need to come up and click sample all layers. I'm going to zoom in so I can really see what it is I'm working with. And then I want to make the brush the exact size of the goober. So looking pretty good right about there. So I click it, and it's gone. So you can see a little bit of a circle there. I could try to make my brush a little bit smaller and touch it up that way, but I think once we zoom out it won't be noticeable. And then here's the other one. So my brush is way too big for this one over here on the left side, so I'm going to get the brush to fit on there exactly, click, and it's gone. So let's zoom out a little bit and see what that looks like. So I don't think those circles are at all noticeable from this percentage, and I think it'll look fine when printed. So areas we've touched up would be eye goobers, the shadow underneath his eye, the brightness and color of his eye, the sharpness of his eye. So those are just a few portrait tips. Thanks for watching.